Hi, welcome to Outdoor Exploration again. I am touring you through my garden today. Various people have asked me what the weeds growing in their garden are. So many of them are edible, so many of them are actually delicious, that I thought, well, why not give you a tour of my garden, which is a mess as always. Partly because I'm a bit of a lazy gardener, and partly because I am trying to follow permaculture ideas, leaving weeds in that aren't a problem, and interplanting, having things all growing together and feeding the soil instead of tilling the soil. So just as a brief tour, starting from one side, this kind of U-shaped bed over there is my garlic, which I planted last fall. Hopefully you can see it coming up. These two small beds and the end of this one are where I have my asparagus. You can see nothing at all except a few dry stalks. Asparagus are perennial, so in hopefully a couple weeks I should start to see the new shoots coming up, and that'll be our asparagus for the year. This bed has some old turnips in it, some cauliflowers, which are they're overwintering, so they're just starting to produce heads right now. That will be my lentils up against that fence there. And then coming along here, this long bed is my kale, and then at the end more cauliflower. That back bed up there is right under this sequoia tree, which makes it, well, it makes our whole garden is highly acidic, but that of all places is the most acidic. Constantly has sequoia branches dropped in it. And I haven't managed to grow very much up there, but fennel is happy. That fennel's been there for 12 or 15 years, and you can't see much of it but those dry stalks, but I grow it for the leaves and the seeds and flowers which we eat. I also have wild ginger growing in the fennel. All along the front here are strawberries, which supposedly hang their berries over the edge, but frankly we have a lot of slugs here, so they get eaten by the slugs usually. These long vines you can see were from tromboncini I had growing there last year, and yeah, they vined down actually through the kale. It was kind of extravagant, and that's it. That top bed is pretty much just onions and dandelions. So I'm going to take you through and show you some of the things we call weeds that maybe are nice to eat. So here we are in the end of my kale bed, and one of the first weeds that we have is western dock. It is a dock similar to burdock, but totally different for eating. This is, I think, more edible than burdock. The leaves, you can use them similarly to how you'd use chard. They kind of wilt and disappear a lot when you cook them, but they're tasty. This often has a bit of a red line in the middle. Not always. As you can see, these are both western dock, and they're looking slightly different from each other. And as with many plants like this, they're more delicious when the leaves are young. Like this one here, freshly come out, this one is going to be pretty tasty. Moving along, we have lots of grass, which is one of the things I always get rid of. There's some lamb's quarters coming up everywhere. This here is wall lettuce, which is from the lettuce family. Tastes like lettuce. It's very bitter, kind of like the butt end of the lettuce that can get quite bitter. Yeah. Here's a bit of bitter cress. Speaking of, mustard family growing behind it. You can see the little whirl of tiny leaves in there. The stem is the most delicious part of that. Oh, here's some more bitter cress over here. So, moving along. Oh, if you can see this here, this is Herb Robert. Try and clear it away. These can actually get quite big, and a lot of people on the west coast have them in their gardens. They can become these huge, kind of feathery looking plants with pink flowers. It's a geranium family. You can make tea with it. It's antiviral. Put it in smoothies. This is some of my kale. Moving along, a whole lot of buttercup, which will imminently be removed because you can see how invasive it is here. It'll be, yeah, I need a shovel for this, but it grows right along the edge of the boards and just takes over You can see all those roots. Yuck. It's not only invasive, it's also poisonous. Useless buttercup. Okay, it has pretty flowers, but anyway. More kale, more grass. I don't mind weeds in my garden, I just mind it being taken over. Oh, here's a bunch of foxglove. That's coming out too. It's not particularly invasive, but not something I want. Here's my overwintering cauliflower, which some of which are starting to make cauliflowers. You can see I love this. It makes me so happy. Hopefully you can see my tiny cauliflowers. In a month or so I'll have something bigger than that to eat. Let's see, what can I find? Oh well, here's a bigger herb Robert. Actually, these are all the asparagus stalks from last year, which I'll pull out shortly and dump into my potato garden. But you can see this is getting quite big and fleshy, and it's having some little buds coming. It's going to make lots of nice pink flowers. Here's a huge dandelion. It's been here for years and years. A couple times I tried to pull it out and it just came back, so now I just harvest the flowers and use those for my baking. So here we are in the upper bed of my garden, where you can see I have some humongous bittercress growing, which is apparently super happy right under the sequoia. You can see all the sequoia leaves everywhere. I mean, it's similar to having the garden bed under a cedar tree. Some strawberries are up here that kind of trailed their way up here from last year and established themselves here. Sometimes I move them out just to make space for whatever I'm putting here, but I don't mind if they grow here. A bunch of buttercup that is leaving again, as I say. This bittercress I think is going in my sandwiches. Here is the fennel I mentioned. You can see, well, there's a bunch of grass growing here, but the fronds are starting, so this is one of the tastiest plants I grow. I love it so much. I mean, it's not wild unless you're in California, where it really shouldn't be, but it is. And up here, this is my prized collection of wild ginger that my father's been helping me grow by bringing me little plants here and there. It's getting pretty dense in here, and they are just super happy growing under fennel. They also get really gorgeous flowers later in the year. You can see, I hope you can see, they have these kind of fleshy stems. Oh look, here's a flower already. Hopefully I can show you this. A couple flowers under here. There are some wild ginger flowers. I hope you can see those. So beautiful. Sometimes they're much more purple than that. So here's our new chicken coop. We're starting a new flock of chickens this year, and here's Marcus building our chicken coop. Bark, 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 bark. So this, among my old turnips, which you can actually see some of the old turnips here. If I leave these, they'll make seeds this year, so that's the reason I'm leaving them. Oh, a baby bee has just flown on me. Come here. Show yourself to the camera. Oh, he's scared. Here, look. So cute. So, among these things I'm pulling out, like sequoia branches and grass, are a whole bunch of what we call sour grass. It's actually, yeah, most people actually call this sheep sorrel. I don't know why my family calls it sour grass, we just do. These are some pretty tiny examples. It can get quite big, especially in moist areas. This tends to be a pretty dry bed. But it's sorrel. It's sour and delicious. It's great in salads, mostly. That's what I use it for. And if you look at it, it has leaves that are kind of spinach shaped. So I'll sacrifice one here to show you up close. And you see they're spear shaped. They have these two little points at the bottom. That's an identifying factor as well as the lemony taste. And yeah, they're pretty delicious. So, oh, here's something. I bet you all know what this is. And I'm pulling it out. Oh, I didn't get the whole root. Blackberry. We have a few types of blackberries here. This is an evergreen blackberry. In my opinion, they make the least delicious berries and they have the most brutal prickles. So, kind of don't like them. I would pull any blackberry out of my vegetable garden. But these and the Himalayan blackberries, which are the ones that have rounder leaves, are the invasive types anyway. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's fine to pull them out. I have one that I leave growing over that direction. Just because I like the berries, but for the most part I get rid of them. That's it, I think, for today. I hope you have a nice time in your veggie garden, even if it's just a pot on your porch. I know a lot of people are starting new vegetable gardens this year. Yeah, it seems to be frightening in a lot of ways, this pandemic, and exciting for new adventures. Happy exploring. See you next time.